This is Danny Flexen here for SecondsOut. Delighted to be joined by former British Commonwealth heavyweight champion David Price. Shortly after announcing your retirement, how's everything going?
Yeah, good, and not bad. Got a good response to the announcement. I weren't going to announce anything initially. It was just going to fade away type of thing and disappear. But I done an interview tonight with Tyson Fury and Steve Bunsen, and I just said I won't be fighting again. And then next thing I knew, Derek Chisora, people were putting posts up, so I thought I better let people hear it from the horse's mouth. So it was good, though. It was good. Probably owed it to myself to announce it anyway publicly. You know, I came into boxing with an announcement, the pro game, and I left with one. But it's been like in my mind for a while that I was gonna call it a day, and I confirmed it probably about 6 weeks ago in my own head, maybe a bit more. And yeah, it's just it's more or less been retired for 2 years anyway now. But it's just the actual saying it, the words coming out of your mouth a little bit different. Do you know what I mean? But all is good, thanks.
What was the thing that finally kind of tipped you over the edge to make that decision to confirm it 6 weeks or so ago?
Yeah, well, I had one foot in and one foot out all the time, where it was like, you know, one day I'd feel, yeah, I wouldn't mind having another fight. I feel like having another fight. Then other days I'm like, for what reason do you want to fight? And then I got a call in July or June, I think, about the Matchroom Garden show to potentially fight Hughie Fury. Now, that was something I was interested in, and I said, yeah, I'll have it. I'll go for it. But we couldn't do a deal financially. But I was ready to put everything into that fight, because that fight was attractive to me for a couple of reasons. One being the upside of a one. Obviously, there's a bit of backstory. He's got a bit of a name. And I just thought stylistically, yeah, that could be a fight I could go for. So said yeah, but it didn't happen. And then after that, it was like, look, this Hughie Fury fight ain't happening, but the Liverpool show, you're owed a fight off Matchroom, it can be on that. So I was like, okay. So I've been in training all year, really, just keeping fit. And then I started getting back in the boxing gym, hitting bags a little bit more. And the more I was doing it, the more I was realising I was struggling to recover between sessions a little bit. And the exhaustion of boxing training, which has been the case for years, really, because that's the life of a boxer. It's fucking tough. And you are fatigued and you are tired and your energy's low, and that feeling was coming back to me. And now, without the glory being possible, the big fights, because in my mind, I didn't know he was going to fight in Liverpool, but it wasn't going to be anything that got me juices flowing. And I thought, the hunger isn't there. I'm not willing to go through feeling like this on a daily basis for 10 weeks for the sake of just fighting for a bit more money, when, like, the reality is I'm not going to win a world title. I'm not going to fight for a world title. I might have had a bit of a decent domestic fight. And to be honest, having not fought for 2 years and not having the desire to go through the training, I think I owed it to myself to say no. So when the call came about the Liverpool show, I'd been in the gym for a few days and I was fucked on the bed, like, after the session, and I was like, do you know what? No, I don't want to fight on it, and I don't want to fight again. And then that took like another 8 weeks for me to come out and say it. And then when I finally did, it was a bit of a relief, you know.
Are you able now, it's not been long, but are you able now to look back on your career as a whole? And if so, how do you assess it?
Yeah, do you know what? I retired once before in my head, and it was after the Christian Hammer fight, who Hughie Fury's fighting tomorrow. So after that fight, I've been up training with Dave Colwell, which started brilliantly. And he was the right person to go and train with after me knockout defeat to Kentepe. He helped rebuild me confidence and coach me to become a better fighter. But I didn't really have a promoter or nothing at the time, and it was a frustrating time. There was a lack of opportunities, and I was travelling up and down to Rotherham without anything in the pipeline, and it was fucking frustrating. And it was that frustrating heading into the Christian Hammer fight. I thought to myself, if I win this fight, I need to change something up with me training situation. And if I don't win, I'm retiring. I need to just get out of this situation either way that I was in. So I went into the fight and I lost. And after it, I was like, right, that's it now. I'm retired. And it felt fucking brilliant to do that. It was great. I was like, right, I'm not going to get judged anymore. I'm no longer open to the critics. I can just live a normal life and relax and enjoy myself, and felt great at first. And I started then looking back at what I'd done before that and earlier on in my career and everything else, and it was nice looking back, but it was a bit like frustrating at what was promised at the time. And anyway, after that, started running out of money fast, which you do. I had no other form of income, so I just bumped into Joe McNally at Stephen Smith's stag do in Ibiza. Well, we were up there together, and I just jumped on the trip and went over on my own with a pal of mine. And I hadn't seen Joe Mac for years, and I just had a good chat to him over there, over a beer, about what my plans were. And he kind of like talked me into thinking about fighting again. And it was just a good match. It was like we were meant to get together on that holiday type of thing, and because he just started training fighters, and I thought, you know what, I want to go and do a little bit with him and give it a go. And it turned out to be a great decision, because the second part of my career, which I'd call after that initial break, was then 2 years between fighting Camel in Essex, Camel Sokolowski, who's a cracking fella and a fucking tough man. Them 2 years between that and fighting Derek Chisora, they were very, very productive, shall we say. Big fights, big shows, getting paid well, brilliant experiences, fresh team around me who were young and forward thinking and on my wavelength, and it was enjoyable. So now when I'm looking back, the first part of my career seems like a long time ago, which it was. You know, it was nearly 10 years ago when I won the British title, I think. It was a long time ago. But the second portion of my career, I look back at that again and I'm like, yeah, that was great. If someone would have told me, 2-3 years ago, here's where you're going to be, who you're going to fight, I'd definitely took it. So I'm pretty content.
A couple of things that you said there I want to pick up on. You talked about being judged and the criticism that you got certainly earlier in your career. How much did that impact you and your mindset?
Yeah, it did have an impact on me. That's why I struggled to recover from my first defeat. Even like, it still bothered me a couple of years later, even that I'd lost them 2 fights against Tony Thompson, because I'm my own worst critic. And then when outside critics also jump on it, and it's not so much, fans or trolls or whatever, it's more so fellow boxers, fellow, trainers, things like that. And I didn't read everything, but, you get the feeling, you hear what things are getting said, and I just struggle to forgive myself really for what had happened, even though I moved on physically and started fighting again and getting wins up. But mentally, it's still bothered me now. Instead of using that as motivation, and it probably did use as motivation to try and put it right, it probably did have an effect on me. Yeah, definitely, I'd say so.
Do you ever think, and I don't want to kind of make you regret stuff, but do you ever think about what might have been if you hadn't gone in with Thompson so early on in your career?
Yeah, I do, yeah. And I think what would have happened someone else would have done it to me. I think that's what would have happened. You know, at some point, it mightn't have been in the next fight, mightn't have been in the fight after that, but at some point, I would have come unstuck against someone because I wasn't the best. I wasn't the best fighter. I wasn't unbeatable, and although I was carrying this reputation of being kind of fucking superhuman at one point amongst some people, that was never the case, and I knew that. I knew that because I knew from the amateur days, and I knew from sparring sessions that I'd had, you know, like against the likes of Kubrat Pulev, people like that, where, you know, I was never going to be the greatest fighter. So, but what would have happened was I would have beat Tony Thompson. First fight, all you had to do was stay on my feet because he was in no shape to fight. And I'd have won that fight. And then I probably would have fought Fury. And to be honest, if ever there was a time for me to beat Tyson Fury, it was probably then. You know, he's gone from strength to strength, but it was probably at that time. But he was with Peter then as well, and he was starting to look better again. So I can't say I would have beat him, but it would have been my best chance. But I probably would have been involved in big fights earlier on in my career. But it would have all just been, all that would have been different would have been finance, money. You know, might have earned a bit more money, but back in that day, there weren't as much money in boxing as there is now. So I might have fought a big fight on Box Nation and got £500,000 against fucking David A or someone like that. Or not David A, Derek Chisore or someone like that. Whereas in 8 years later on Sky Sports box office, if it had still been unbeaten, you're talking multiple millions of pounds. So all that would have been different would have been getting more money at different stages, and that's all that would have been different because I would have lost. I would have lost it, and that's just the fact.
You said as well that the first time you considered retirement, you were running out of money fast, which is, you know, a reality for a lot of fighters out there. Presumably now, when you've made the decision to walk away, you're in a better position financially to carry on with the rest of your life.
Yeah, oh yeah, of course, yeah, definitely. That's what I'm saying. The last 2 years were good. You know, MCK done a great job with me, getting me opportunities. Great being involved on the Matchroom shows. Eddie Hearn giving me opportunities. Sauerland Brothers, Sky Sports, Adam Smith, all them, they all played a part in getting me them opportunities. But what was the most important factor was my perseverance to just keep going, even when I lost to Povetkin, when I lost to Kuzman, which was disappointing. You know, it was to just keep chipping away. And I had 3 domestic wins against Dave Allen, Cash Ali, and Tom Little, which, with all due respect, you know, they're not world level fighters. And then 3 wins put me in a position to get that nice fight against Derek, where just, you know, which was good business, but it was a late notice job, and the sportsman, and he's still disappointed with the performance and the result. But because of my nature of fighting him, the name I've got from early on in my career as well, the perseverance and that all contributed to getting these opportunities. So now, you know, I'm more mature and I've been a little bit more sensible than when I was younger. So I'm in a position to move on to other things in life. I mean, you know, I'm not someone who's done that well out of boxing, far from it, where I can just go and sit in cafes all day and knock around the gym. I've had to set a business up and going out doing my own work and things like that. But I haven't got too much pride where I'm not going back to work. I'm David Price. I went to the Olympics. I've done this. I'm just out into the real world and go and make some more money for my family.
You were an Olympic bronze medalist, as you alluded to there. Won British and Commonwealth titles. Been in some huge fights as well. Try and pick out, if you can, what's been your proudest moment in boxing?
Yeah, without a doubt, the best moment for me in boxing was in the Olympics in my first fight against Islam Tamaziev, and he was like the world number one at the time. Yeah, he was the red-hot favourite to win the gold medal, and I went to that Olympics with high hopes as well, by the way. I was in the form of my life, and but when I got drawn against him, I was like, fucking hell. The worst possible draw, but I stopped him in the second round, and he's dead now, God rest his soul. But that was unbelievable feeling of euphoria, that fight, and I'll never be topped, I don't think, in anything in life. You know, I'm a mad Liverpool fan. You know, I've got my own kids who've been born and things like that. It's a different type of feeling, but honestly, that was like incredible. It was so much of a high. That was me proudest moment, because it was back page news all over the world. That was amazing. That was me proudest moment as a fighter. Like,
and any regrets?
Yeah, of course. We all have regrets, haven't we? But it's just what you believe to be the right decision at the time. You never make a decision thinking, I'm going to regret this. I mean, you have heard people say it, but it's normally in a sarcastic way, like if they're doing something a bit risky and they're having, I'm going to regret this. But when you're making a serious decision about your career and your business or whatever, you can say, I hope I don't regret this, but I never went in knowing I'd regret it. So there was a couple of things, going straight into the Tommy Thompson rematch was definitely something I shouldn't have done, because I just couldn't deal with the pressure that I put on myself to make sure I won that fight. And then working with Lennox Lewis for the fight was probably the wrong idea, because it was bad timing. You know, I was coming off a shattering defeat, and then I went and worked with like one of the best heavyweights of all time, and it was a good idea at the time. But looking back, I probably should have just been better the devil I knew with Franny Smith, and because we had a game plan which we thought would have worked against Tony Thompson. Then went to Canada to train with Lennox, and it was a completely different training setup. Different methods of training sent me into a state of overtraining, and I was just fucking exhausted. And then when I come home, I was preparing for the fight at home. Then with Franny, got dropped in sparring by a novice pro. Just a flash knockdown, but it shattered my confidence even more, because I just stopped being stopped in the first fight. Started questioning my punch resistance, and then that happens in sparring. And that just created a massive feeling of tension and anxiety for me, with 3 weeks to go for the fight. And come fight night, I was exhausted before even getting in the ring. My legs had nothing in them, and I was just like, right, I'll be okay when I get in the ring. It should never have happened, the fight. Weren't ready for it. My mental health weren't right at the time. And I can say that now, because it's like I've got a bit of a stigma in boxing, that type of thing. But I weren't ready mentally for that fight, without a doubt. And all said and done, I was still like fucking 1 second away from knocking the man out.
Yeah.
So, it just shows you. And it's the same with every fight I lost, really. Bar one, I think the Tepper fight, I had them hurt or dropped or in trouble. So, and that was the entertaining side of my fights, I suppose.
Who was the best you fought as a pro, do you think?
I'd probably have to say, do you know what? It's out of Povetkin and Derek Chisora. Povetkin's certainly, in the traditional sense of the word, we're a better boxer than Derek. More well-schooled, but that type of style I can deal with a bit more. Despite getting knocked out by him, I can deal with that a bit more, because it's from the school of amateur boxing, which I was used to, the textbook style boxing. They do everything conventionally, but he was brilliant at judging the distance, at punch accuracy, letting the power shots go when the time was right. But for sheer force of strength and making use of his physical attributes and working them, working them well. It could be Derek Chisora. He's got an underrated defence, Derek. So difficult to nail with a clean shot. I hit him with one good clean uppercut, but he had me hit on the ropes at the end of the third round, I think it was, and I sagged, and I just threw an uppercut like a bit of a Hail Mary punch, and it caught him, but he took it. Derek uses attributes well. You never really see him busted up, because he's got a better defence than he's given credit for. So it's out to them too, I'd say.
I remember when you first went to spar, Chisora, probably 10, 15 years ago now. I spoke to you on the phone just afterwards, and you seemed quite shocked by, I don't know, how seriously he took the spar. It was like he was trying to take your head off. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Was that when it was a pro, was it?
Yeah, but early on.
Yeah, we sparred a bit in the amateurs, and then early on in the pros, I think the first time I went and sparred him was, he was fighting Vitaly Klitschko. So I went up to Fort William in Scotland, where he was having his training camp, and I done a bit of sparring up there with him. And then I went down to Don Charles's gym and sparred with him and Dillian on the same night. And I was training for my first 8-round fight, and Don Charles said, right, you're going to do a rounds on and rounds off with both of them. I got fucking battered. Got battered by the two of them. It was probably the hardest sparring I'd done that. The two of them give it to me, and I was, because obviously they were getting in fresh, and then the next day I sparred Derek on my own and kind of evened the score. But yeah, mate, they give it to me. But Derek's a great guy. One of the good guys in boxing for me.
Probably the only time Dillian and Derek have had the same goal at the same time.
Yeah, take my head off.
Brought them together. Yeah,
but he didn't do it though. He didn't do it. Managed to survive.
Now I think you're still the last man to beat Tyson Fury, if I'm not mistaken. Given what he's gone on to achieve, that must mean something, surely.
Yeah, it does. It does, but you know me, Dan. I'm not going to dine out on beating Tyson Fury when we were both young men in the amateurs. It's just not my style, so. But it is what it is. I was the last man to beat him, as a last Englishman to beat him anyway. So you can't take that away from me. But he's gone on to do amazing things, hasn't he?
You still do the best Tyson Fury impression I've ever heard. I haven't heard it for about 10 years, but I remember it being very good. I can't
do it anymore because his voice has changed.
Yeah, his voice has changed, yeah. He's done you. You could have been like a lookalike or something, but he's ruined that now.
It's impersonator. He's done amazing.
Now, before I let you go, I'm sure there's a lot of people, and you don't want to miss anyone out, but are there people out there specifically that you'd like to thank and kind of credit for help during your career?
Yeah. Do you know what? I've had that many people who've had a positive influence on my career. It takes forever to go through the list of names, but that's why I said when I announced it, trainers that I've had. And I had a few trainers. Obviously, Franny Smith was my coach from when I first turned pro. That's a great thing going on. Me and Franny, we were flying. And then after that, we had Tommy Brooks, Dave Colwell, Joe McNally, George Vaughan I trained for a bit with, who's just retired recently, with Terry Matthews, and there's loads of names who've had an influence. And then outside of the gym, there's been influential people involved, and there's too many, fellow fighters, my family, everyone really, and not last but not least the fans, because without the fans, the boxing wouldn't really exist, would it? So the fans, whether the critical or whether they're over the top, because there's constructive criticism and then there's just downright fucking slagging people. But either way, they're interested in boxing, and they're paying for the industry, the sport to keep going. So everyone really, but boxing itself is boxing itself, and I need to thank myself for going through it, because it's been it's been hard. You know, when I started boxing, people were surprised that I'd gone to a boxing gym, and here it was, still 20 odd years later, still doing it. And a few weeks ago, I was looking back and I was like, fucking hell, has all that just happened to me? That all just happened? It's gone 20 years, or even 10 years as a pro. It's just gone, and it goes quick. It's here and gone in the blink of an eye. And so, yeah, so thank myself for going into boxing, sticking at it, because everything I've got in life, and I don't mean materialistically, I mean emotionally, and the man I am, a lot of it is down to what boxing has given me. It's a fucking amazing sport. What it does for a person, a man or a woman, is it's incredible, and that's why I'd always recommend young kids to get involved in boxing, especially young kids who haven't got confidence. It just does wonders for you. So yeah, that's me list of thank yous.
And what does the future look like for David Price?
Good, yeah, just normality. I'm going to still be involved around, well, when I say involved, I'll still be about boxing. And I'm looking forward to watching the next crop of boxers come through, especially the heavyweights. Keep a keen eye on that. It's nice to watch fights without judging them, as in what I'd be doing in the ring against them. Probably still will do that. Keep fit, keep training. I've got a business set up doing building work, things like that. So I've got that going. That's keeping me occupied and busy every day, to be honest. And that's the main thing. And the one thing I have come out of boxing with is not only me health intact, but me mental health is intact. I'm good. You know, I'm content. I'm not addicted to anything. I'm not a gambler. I'm not a big drinker. I'm not addicted to drugs. So I'm winning. You know, I'm in a great position really to start the next chapter of my life.
I'm sure everyone will be delighted to hear that. And I guess on behalf of kind of journalists and the fans, thank you for all the entertainment you've given us over the years, the big explosive knockouts, you know, the big domestic fights. And yeah, it's been great to follow the journey.
Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the coverage you gave me over the years as well. So thanks a lot.
Cheers, mate. Well, yeah, take care, and hopefully we'll catch up again soon. We'll get you as a pundit now. You can talk about the fights and who's going to win and stuff. You don't have to worry about anyone getting pissed off.
That's the one, mate. Get me on. I'll see you soon.
All right, take care, mate. Speak soon.